Now let's look at getTransactionData_state. This state in the framework acts like a watchman or a gateway, and it is responsible for sending one transaction after the other. Here, if I just look at it, this is responsible for the data retrieval. If I just double click on that, here is the code for that. This is the default things that we can see over here. It comes with a sequence in which we have check stop signal. This is used to stop the process which is already being executed. The signal will be sent from the orchestrator. Orchestrator is a product of UiPath which can be used to monitor the robots. It has its own license. Okay, we can even remove that if necessary. Then if this particular thing has true in it, then this left side will be executed, and if it's false, then we will have the else part being executed. As I have said, it acts as a gateway. If there is any transaction available, transactions are nothing but, say in Excel you have 10 records, in your mailbox you have 10 mails, in your folder you have 10 PDF files. These are the transactions. That simple they are. If there are any transactions available to process, this will be sent to process transaction. Else it will be sent. If there is no data available to process, then it will be sent to end process. That we can see over here. If there is any input available or any transactions available, it will move on to this process transactions. Else if there is no data, it will go to end process and it will stop. Let's go into this particular else part. Here it is surrounded by a try catch, and we have a catch here where we are logging the particular exception that we have got, and then finally we don't have anything. Let's go into this particular workflow. Here's the workflow. Here you can read the description that here we are trying to get the data from the spreadsheets, databases, emails, and other kind of inputs. The first activity is to retrieve the data from a queue. Queue is something which is used to handle the workload, which is available in the orchestrator. This is the default structure that comes along with the RE framework, but as per our input we can change it. If our input is mail, then this will change. If our input is PDF, then this will change. Okay, so here let's go into the properties of this get transaction item. In this we have the input as queue name. We have provided the queue name from which this particular activity will fetch the transaction. As soon as it will fetch the transaction, it will assign to this particular transaction item. Right now this transaction item, below this we have a if statement where we are checking if the output from this, which is our transaction status, is nothing or empty. If we have something in it, then it will be of course not be empty or nothing, so it will go into the left then part of this if statement, else it will go to the else part of it. Okay, if we have the data in it, it will go and have all these values assigned. Okay, all this will be using for the logging purposes. The only thing that we will send out, if I just go to main and look at the arguments, we are sending some inputs to this particular thing. Don't be confused about the arguments and variables. Just look at it like you're sending something and you're getting out something. Okay, we are sending in the transaction number, and we are sending in a configuration file that we have talked about, which will contain some values. Say it can contain URL, it can contain the maximum timeout, it can contain some folder path and all that. And we are getting out something called transaction item. And all this for now you can ignore. What is transaction number? So whenever we have something to process, it will start from 1, right? It might end up at 10 or 100 or 1000 depending on the particular transactions available to us, but it should start from 1. So for that reason, we have initialized this variable. Variable is nothing but a container which will hold some value. It can be of any data type, boolean, integer, string, or any data type. Okay, we have assigned it one number, so this particular thing will pass 1 for the first time and will pass the configuration file and will get that particular transaction item out, and this transaction number will be incremented every time as we pass on from one transaction to another transaction till we reach the maximum number of transactions we are going to process. And we can see this transaction, our transaction is being sent out. Our transaction is being sent out. This is queue item right now, but if we deal with mails, it will change to mail. We have to do it manually. And if you are dealing with Excel, then it will be data row. That was about get transaction data.